Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about video games. So, with E3 canceled this year, we had a number of individual game conferences going along from about June 9th to June 13th recently to show us all the new and exciting things that are coming up in gaming. And I streamed and watched 4 of them, actually the exact same 4 I watched last year. First, there was the Summer Game Fest, then the Day of the Devs, the Guerilla Collective presentation, their first of 2, I didn't see their second one, and then, of course, the Xbox and Bethesda conference. If you missed these, I did stream them over on my Twitch. Those videos will be up for however long Twitch keeps videos up for, but if you just want a recap of the games that I found interesting and, you've got the same kind of taste in video games as me, that's what this is for. So the Summer Game Fest, hosted by Jeff Keighley, is the event that kicked everything off. And in this conference, especially in the first bit of it, it became clear that the new hotness was going to be space horror, or at least it will be in about 6 months or so when these games start coming out. There were a lot of sci-fi, spooky games that were announced. Honestly, they kind of blend into each other a little bit, but I'm not complaining because sci-fi horror is one of my favorite genres in terms of movies and books, and I really like it in games too, even though sometimes I'm a little too wimpy to actually play all the games. So to start out, we had the Callisto Protocol, which is a game that we saw last year, I'm pretty sure, and this is by Striking Distance Studios. It's directed by one of the co-directors of the Dead Space series, which I've only played the first game, but that's one of my favorite horror games for sure. So it has definitely some Dead Space vibes, although with different kind of monsters. So it has a release date of December 22nd, 2022, so hopefully it'll be out this year. Of course, delays are always possible. It is set on a prison colony on the moon of Jupiter, and you play a prisoner when everything has gone to hell and apparently aliens have attacked. The monsters in this look a little zombie-like. They're extremely creepy. Some of the scenes had you going past things that you thought were dead, but maybe they weren't quite dead. Again, yeah, it looks similar to Dead Space, and it looks like this is actually going to get out ahead of the Dead Space remake, which I think also got announced last year, but I don't think we actually saw anything about it this year. That one is planned for early 2023. But anyway, the Callisto Protocol, as far as I know, is coming out for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC at the end of the year. Next, in our spooky sci-fi, we have Fort Solis, which was introduced during the show by Troy Baker and Roger Clark, and it's being made by a new indie studio, or a new studio. It calls itself on their Steam page a third-person thriller, so not horror, but, probably a little tension there, if not many jump scares, I'm guessing. This takes place on Mars. Again, things have somehow gone to hell. You have to figure out what exactly is going on. You have a whole base to explore, and it's apparently very open-ended, so you can pick your path, which buildings you're going to explore, if you're going to be on the surface, if you're going to be underground. It's very narrative-focused, and there should be multiple outcomes based on your choices, which sounds really cool. I would definitely like a more narrative-focused, spooky game. They all tend to be on the linear side or more on the action side than the actual story. I'm not sure about the release date or the platforms it's going to be on, but it's one to keep an eye on. More space games. Aliens Dark Descent, a new game in the Aliens franchise. It showed a trailer that was 98% cinematic. It looked very Aliens, more than Aliens, so definitely more of the action type rather than the horror slow burn type. There was a very brief look at the gameplay at the end, which looked to be like a top-down or isometric view of shooting lots of aliens that are coming at you. It could be a thing that would be fun for co-op, maybe not one that I would play single player, but I'm looking forward to seeing more than that tiny little bit of footage to make up my mind further, and this one is planned for 2023. And the last one in this category I'm going to mention is called Routine, developed by Lunar Software. It is a first-person sci-fi horror that is set on the moon, and it has a very 80s aesthetic. of things. The visuals were really striking. I thought the trailer didn't really give us much, but it did give us what I assume is an evil robot who is out to kill you. This looks like a first-person survival horror game, which honestly isn't my favorite. I'm a little bit too wimpy to play them by myself, but I really like the look of it. And yeah, I think that's all. I don't think it gave a release date or platforms. Taking things in a bit of a different direction is High Water by Demagogue Studio, and this is a story-driven 3D adventure game with turn-based strategic combat, which is blending a bunch of things I really like in games. This takes place after an apocalyptic flood, so global warming is here, baby, and it has flooded all of the cities, and people need to learn how to survive. The rich are all holed up in their little fortresses, and everyone else is sort of struggling for the scraps or finding out if there's anywhere for them to go. Apparently, pirate radio broadcasts are going to be a big part of this, both providing music as well as story and maybe clues of what to do next. And I really like that it's got a stylized look as opposed to going for the more realistic graphics that we've seen from everything so far. This is expected sometime in 2022. I haven't seen any platform details, but it will at least be on PC. The sun is currently in my eyes. This is what I get for recording at 8 p.m. And last thing I want to talk about from this conference is Saints Row. I'm a big Saints Row fan. I am cautiously optimistic about the new one that's going to be coming out. The trailer that we got here was entirely focused on character creation. It was extremely ridiculous, lots of options. It looks like you're going to be able to create exactly the character you want, from, body types and voice types and clothing, hair, all that stuff. It looks like a lot of fun, and I really just hope that the game itself is as ridiculous and over the top as this character creation trailer was. So moving on, directly after this conference was Day of the Devs, which is put on by Double Fine and I Am 8-Bit to show off some indie games. This conference didn't have as much for me. There was a few things at the beginning, but after a while, everything took a turn into the extremely chill. And that's fine. I like the occasional chill, relaxing game, but it just got a little samey, like the relaxing puzzlers or the farming and the crafting simulators, which I'm not really like. But there were a couple things that stood out. The first one was called Choo Choo Charles, which stands out just for how different it was from everything else. This game is about a killer train who wants to eat you, and you have to build your own train so that you can kill Charles. And you're escaping from this train, you're exploring things, you're looking for materials. It looked pretty fun. This will be coming out on PC in 2023. Next up was Planet of Lana, which I'm pretty sure we saw last year, and this is a cinematic puzzle platformer. You're exploring a beautiful hand-painted world with a little companion that follows you everywhere. The thing that stands out about this one is that the cinematic platformers tend to be on the darker side, which, I like, but, Inside, Limbo, Little Nightmares, they're all definitely darker in tone and in appearance, whereas this one was very bright and colorful and beautiful looking, so that was pretty nice. This is planned for PC and Xbox in 2022 sometime. And the last thing that caught my interest was Escape Academy. There's all kinds of escape room games on Steam of various qualities. This is a series of escape rooms, but there is also an overarching adventure, which sounds pretty cool. You play a student who is training to become an escape artist, and the creators of this game are actual escape room, real-life escape room creators too. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They should know what they're doing. This is coming out very soon. It's coming out on July 14th. It's going to be on Game Pass day one, and it's on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. So the next conference that I watched on the Saturday, got up nice and early to stream it, was the Guerilla Collective. This is a digital game showcase focusing on indie games, and there was honestly a lot that I liked the look of here, both last year and this year. I thought this was a really good one to watch. So if you're ever looking for indies but don't want to quite go the Devolver Digital over the top thing, definitely check out the Guerilla Collective next year because it's a really good conference. The first thing, which was just up my alley in so many ways, is called I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. And this is a coming of age story. It is a narrative role playing game with card based battles, which is just like bingo, you've hit so many of my little checkboxes there. So you play someone who has come to this planet, and you make a series of choices over a decade which will shape your future. You have to develop different skills, you have to face a whole bunch of different story events, you can date other characters, which I always like. The art in this is just absolutely gorgeous. I haven't seen anything about consoles. I'm guessing only PC, which I really wish it was on console, but this is coming out fairly soon as well, August 25th of this year. Going back to horror, Signalis is a classic survival horror experience. It has a PS1 look to it, sort of a third person kind of shooty with monsters. It takes place in a dystopian future where there's terrible monsters, there's dark secrets, there's cosmic mysteries. You play a character who is just awoken from cryostasis, and as part of the journey, you'll need to be able to manage your resources and solve puzzles. And this one's coming out on October 27th of this year, I think, for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. One of the games that most piqued my interest out of anything, I'm sure this won't be surprising when you see the trailer come up here, is 9 Years of Shadows. This is a beautiful pixel art Metroidvania where you're trying to bring color back to the world. It looks so nice. The whole time I was watching this trailer, I was just like, oh man, it's like someone just came out and made this game just for me. This is just what I want to play. It's got great art. It's colorful as you bring color back to the world. You have outfit changes, and your different outfits have different elements and abilities, which is amazing. You also have a cute teddy bear who is a magical companion who can help you out with healing. There's a musical bit to it in some way that I don't quite understand, but it seems interesting, like a musical way of healing yourself. And yeah, this just looks gorgeous. Pixel art Metroidvania. It's supposed to be coming out in Q4 of 2022. I believe for PC and Switch. I'm hoping Xbox release, please, sometime. But yeah, this one looks gorgeous. Flat Eye is a resource management sim with an emphasis on story and narrative choices. You play an employee at this technological hub, and you have to sort of serve the customers and give them what they want. But you can also drive technological development and what kind of new technologies are being invented and offered to people. It looks like things might get kind of dark and morally murky as you decide exactly what technologies should come to pass. But I really like resource management games. This has an interesting art style, sort of a cel-shaded type thing. And this is coming out to PC in 2022 at some point. Witch Strandings is a game by Strange Scaffold, and Strange Scaffold is a really interesting developer. First of all, I don't know how they put games out so quickly. Like, they have a very fast turnaround time, but they made the Airport Dog game, which was one of my favorite games from last year. It just had amazing writing. This is nothing like that, as every game they make is completely different. Some I like, some I don't like, but they are different enough that I will always give them the chance. You play in a top-down, open world inspired by dark fairy tales, and you play a strand of light. It's honestly, reading the description, hard to parse exactly what's going on here, but you can alter the world around you in interesting ways. And it's coming out in July 7th, 2022 on PC, so I'll get to see soon exactly how it works. And last one from this conference was Mira and the Legend of the Jinns. And it is another pixelated Metroidvania. I'm so predictable. But this one is inspired by Moroccan culture. You play a treasure hunter who is traveling with a djinn who has lost her memories. You've got multiple weapons to use. You've got a skill tree to build out. It's not too much that I know about it right now. It just looks good and like the kind of game I want to play. It's coming out sometime in 2023. I assume for PC, not sure where else. And then on Sunday, we had the Xbox and Bethesda conference, which I always look forward to. I actually thought this was really good. It had a great variety of games, and something that I liked is that they only did games that are supposed to come out within the next 12 months. So, no dropping a trailer of something that's not coming out for 5 years. So, that was pretty cool. A lot of good, great looking games, a lot of day one Game Pass things. The first thing, I actually thought this conference really started with a bang. The first thing they did was Redfall, which was Arcane's new open world first person shooter. You fight vampires with a team of up to 4 characters, or you can also play this single player. This was at last year's show, but the trailer they showed was entirely cinematic, so it really didn't give a feel for the game at all. But this was a lot of gameplay that looked pretty fun. Now, I admit I would rather be the vampire than kill the vampires, but still, my co-op group is definitely stoked for this one. And yeah, this looks great. Maybe this will be the first Arcane game that I enjoy. I hope. For some reason the gameplay just doesn't always really go with me, but this looks good and I'd love to play it co-op. It doesn't have a release date given, although apparently in the next 12 months, and it's coming out on Xbox and PC. So the second announcement was the big one. There had been rumors about this. Every time there's a conference, I'm like, oh, I hope they talk about this game. I hope they talk about this game. It's always on my most anticipated games of the year, and it never comes out. But there was a silksong trailer with some new gameplay. It will be on Game Pass day one, which is fantastic for me. When it was originally announced, it was PC and Switch, neither places that I want to play Metroidvanias. But yeah, if you don't know, this is the long-awaited follow-up to Hollow Knight. You get to play Hornet, who looks really fun to play. She's got some great-looking abilities. She just looks super fast and agile. Everyone's been waiting very impatiently for this news. Every Nintendo Direct chat gets spammed, silksong when, and then it happened at an Xbox event. So unfortunately, no actual release date, but again, they said everything was coming out in the next 12 months. So hopefully soon, and I do hope that it comes out on all systems because everyone should get to play it. But yeah, silksong was definitely a bit of a surprise, even though it had sort of been rumored beforehand, but one of the things I was most happy to see. Another one that we had seen before is called Scorn, and this is a first-person horror. They call it a biopunk survival horror, and this game just has an incredibly striking art style. It's all very surreal. It's all very alien-looking, like the landscapes, the creatures. They all just look strange and like things you haven't really seen before, and you're supposed to have just been sort of dropped into this world that has a bunch of interconnected regions, and each region sort of has a theme and its own puzzles and characters to meet. There is a combat involved as you attach sort of biomechanical weapons to your own body. So it looks pretty cool, and it will be coming out in October of this year for PC and Xbox. One that I don't think I had seen before is called Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. This is an action RPG where gods and guns collide. You play a character who is currently fighting the gods along with her strange magical companion. It looks like a very combat-focused game. I know it says it's an RPG, but what we saw was mostly combat in the trailer, and it's a cool blend of axe-wielding and gunplay. This is supposed to be coming out early 2023 for Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. Another surprise from this one that I hadn't heard of before is called The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which is developed by Plot Twist. This is a 2D side-scroller set in 1925, and your character is trying to find out the truth about their family's recent demise. It takes place, or at least it starts out, in a creepy manner, but as you go, things start to get a little bit weird, and you end up in all kinds of different environments, fighting demons and weird Lovecraftian creatures. You have a demon companion that you can use to delve into the consciousness of the dead. The art style is very appealing, and it is apparently a Metroidvania, so I don't have any details on a release date for this one, but definitely one to keep an eye on. Another surprising one is called Pentiment, and this is the newest from Obsidian. Wasn't at all what I was expecting from Obsidian, but is definitely intriguing. This is a 2D role-playing game that takes place in 16th century Bavaria. It has a really cool medieval painted art style and sort of medieval style music. You play an illustrator who has been caught up in a series of murders over a number of years, so it does seem like you'll be solving a mystery during this game, and your choices will have an impact on your character and probably how things turn out in the end. This one is coming out in November of this year on PC and Xbox. And lastly, not a new game, but Xbox is bolstering their JRPG library, which is a little lacking, and they announced that the Persona series will be coming to Xbox. So I believe Persona 5 is the one that's going to come first, but we will also be getting Persona 4 and Persona 3, which is really cool. I'm hoping for maybe even some earlier games, maybe the Shin Megami Tensei games, because those are ones I've always been sort of interested in, but I would definitely be more likely to play them on Xbox. And lastly, I just wanted to mention one more thing. I did not watch the Capcom event in its entirety, but they did show some more of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, this was one where at first I was like, oh, does it really need a remake? But I would play a remake. This was really the only Resident Evil I really liked for a number of years. But then when I played Resident Evil Village, I thought that was an excellent game, and if you want to give me Resident Evil 4 in the style of Resident Evil Village, I will absolutely take it. The trailer looks really cool. I don't think they've given any release date estimates, but apparently this is only coming out for the new generation system, so it won't be coming to PS4 or Xbox One, just the series, the PS5 and PC. Okay, I realized if I didn't say something about Starfield, everyone was going to ask me what I thought about Starfield. It was sort of the end of the Xbox Bethesda conference, and nothing excited me all that much. It looked kind of like Fallout in space, and I haven't really liked the newer Fallout games. Most of what we saw was sort of, very nice new graphics, but that same old style where you talk to someone and they just stand there while you see a close-up of them, and it seemed like there was a lot of combat. So honestly, I don't know. It'll come to Game Pass, so I'll definitely try it out when it comes out, but nothing about Starfield really got my juices flowing, so yeah. So that was it. That was my recap. I couldn't just narrow it down to my top 10, so there is a lot to look forward to in games over the next 12 months and beyond. Leave me a comment. Let me know what looked most interesting to you from these conferences if you watched them. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.